How do you feel the religious traditions are meeting the changing times that we're facing?
I think it's a mixed bag, Craig. I think depending upon the particular religious path, I think there are great intentions on the part of many of them to assist the world in some way through this and other crises. I think where the problems start to occur is when the dogmatism of any particular path begins to take hold. Then the spiritual aspect of what is taking place and how to help the world process begins to lose something. And so what we look for is spirituality. Someone once said that religion tends to drive us apart, spirituality tends to bring us back together again. And so we look to the spiritual principles of unity and other practices to be the catalyst for peace in our world, for bringing it back together again. And I think that each individual religion does a lot of good things to attempt to help the world. What the world seems to gravitate to is the idea of individual, personalized spiritual transformation, and then realize that as we each individualize it, it becomes collective, and it is that collective spiritual growth, raising of world consciousness, that ultimately can really positively impact the world. Sometimes I think we're putting band-aids on with various practices, and what the world really needs is a complete and total healing.
So how do you feel tradition at large needs to change in response to this evolutionary demand?
I think it needs to think about the impact of dogma upon the behaviors of their given communities. And does it release people to transform and assist the world, or does it continue to bind people into absolute and specific beliefs and practices that may not assist that particular community or those particular individuals? So the release of dogma, I think, is one critical action. I believe another release is that many paths insist that there be an intermediary, a given minister or guru or rabbi or priest that must be present for an individual to have a personal relationship with God. And we just don't think that's so, and we don't think that's part of deep spiritual practices. We do believe that there is a direct path. And so it is my own particular relationship with God that transforms me and transforms others as they enter that set of spiritual practices, which are, for the most part, dogma-free. As an example, unity basically has no dogma. We have 5 simple beliefs that we think are fundamental to good spiritual practice, whether somebody's part of unity or not. So the release of dogma, the release of the idea of intermediaries, and the promotion of personal relationships with God for personal transformation and collective transformation. I think if all of the world's religions practice that general idea, then we would see a much more accelerated change in our world.
So how do you feel unity itself is responding to the very demand that you're talking about? What's your sense of
I think the new unity is one of being more visible, being more available, being more identified as a valid, creditable, durable source of spiritual support. And we offer that non-denominationally. We support people of all faiths, and in many cases, no faith. I've had people walk up to me and say, "Hi, Tom, calling Silent Unity and reading Daily Word is my church." And so we do stay current with prayer practices, and some of what was done here today in the sense of collaborating with the medical community and other scientists is part of that two-way street of effective prayer practice, certainly from a spiritual point of view. I think there is also something coming into play from the scientists that tells us perhaps there are also things from the scientific community that can enhance the effectiveness of our prayer. In terms of publications, we stay very current with contemporary spiritual thinking. We read a lot of different materials, books. We pay attention to a lot of authors. We think there are a number of people who are in the forefront of spiritual research and thinking. People like Dr. David Hawkins, Ken Wilber, Don Beck, just to name a few. So we tend to meet with them and listen to them as part of the input to keep ourselves fresh.
What do you feel is the potential of this Parliament to help the traditions move ahead and help humanity move ahead?
I think if the Parliament will continue its work full force and continue to hold these kinds of dialogues, not only at a global level, but also at, say, regional or national levels, local levels, if that can persist, then I believe the shift in the religions and the harmony that can take place among them can absolutely impact the world. We can create a different kind of world to live in. So much of our dilemma, so much of the wars and the skirmishes and the battles we fight are fought in the name of religion. And that's been that way for centuries.
Right.
So if we can adopt a new paradigm in terms of a global relationship with God, I think the Parliament has a massive opportunity to bring that forward.